My precious one. Come close and settle your spirit for a moment. I want to speak to you about something you carry, something that perhaps has become so familiar you barely notice it anymore. It does not clang or shout. It does not demand attention with sharp edges or loud cries. No, it is far quieter than that, more subtle. It is the quiet weight. You feel it, don't you? Not in your hands, not as something you can point to or show another person. You feel it in the center of your being, in the chamber of your spirit where only you and I reside. It is a low, constant pressure, a dull ache that has taken up residence in your soul's foundation. It is the emotional gravity that makes rising in the morning feel like a small triumph. It is the spiritual density that makes joy feel just out of reach, like a melody you can hear through a thick wall. This quiet weight is not made of stone or metal. It is woven from far more potent, more enduring materials. It is woven from the memory of a word spoken in anger that landed not on your ears, but on your heart. It is woven from the fabric of a promise broken, a trust betrayed, a hope that was tenderly held and then gently, or perhaps brutally, set aside. It is woven from the what-ifs and the if-onlys that visit you in the stillness of the night. It is woven from the tears you thought no one saw, the disappointments you smoothed over with a brave face, the injustices you swallowed because you had no strength left to fight. Think of it not as a single rock, my child. Do not make the mistake of simplifying it. It is a tapestry, a heavy, intricate tapestry made from countless threads of experience. Some threads are dark with grief, others are coarse with resentment, some are frayed with anxiety, and others are stiff with old, unforgiven pain. This tapestry is not displayed on a wall. It is worn. You wear it like a mantle, an invisible cloak that drapes over your shoulders, influencing your posture, your stride, your very breath. You carry it into every room, into every conversation, onto every new path you attempt to walk. It is the filter through which you sometimes see the world, a slight tint of sadness, a faint haze of caution. It whispers to you without using words. It says, "Be careful." It murmurs, "Remember what happened last time." It sighs, "This is just how it is." And because its voice is so soft, so seamlessly blended with your own inner voice, you often mistake it for wisdom. You think this caution, this hesitancy, this slight pulling back from life is just who you are now. I've become more realistic, you might say. I'm just being careful. But let me tell you the truth, my beloved. That realism, that caution, is often just the quiet weight speaking. It is the accumulated testimony of past pains governing your present moment. It is old evidence being used to judge new possibilities. And it is heavy, so very heavy. This weight is quiet because it lives in the realm of the unseen. It is spiritual and emotional residue. When a painful event happens, it is not just the event itself that occurs. An energy is released, a shockwave of hurt, of confusion, of injustice. And if that energy is not processed, not healed, not released with intention and grace, it does not simply vanish. It settles. It condenses. It becomes part of the atmosphere of your inner world. With each unhealed hurt, the atmosphere grows denser. The air becomes thicker, harder to move through. This is the quiet weight. It is the density of a soul carrying unprocessed history. You may not speak of it often. You may have even convinced yourself you've moved on. But the body remembers what the mind chooses to forget. The spirit retains what the ego tries to bury. Have you noticed a sigh that escapes you for no apparent reason? A sudden fatigue in the middle of a perfectly fine day? A fleeting shadow that passes over your heart when a certain memory is triggered or a certain tone of voice is used? These, my precious one, are the whispers of the quiet weight. These are its fingerprints on your daily life. It is the reason peace can feel distant, as if it is a country you have heard of, but cannot seem to reach. It is the reason your brightness can feel dulled, like a brilliant lamp covered in layers of fine accumulated dust. The light is still there. The fire of your spirit, the unique spark that I placed within you, has not been extinguished. Not even a little. But it is being obscured. It is shining through a veil, the veil of this quiet, heavy tapestry you have been carrying for so long. Recognizing this is not an act of self-pity. It is not you being weak or dwelling on the past. It is the first, bravest step of a warrior of the spirit. It is the moment you stop pretending the weight isn't there. You stop apologizing for being tired. You stop wondering why you can't just get over it. You look inward, with honesty and with compassion, and you simply acknowledge, I am carrying something. It is heavy, and I feel it. This acknowledgement, this sacred recognition, is where our journey today begins. For you cannot lay down a burden you refuse to admit you are carrying. You cannot ask for relief from a pain you insist does not exist. So today, in this moment, I ask you to simply feel it, to name it quietly in your heart. This is my quiet weight. In doing so, you are not making it bigger. You are beginning the holy work of bringing it into the light, where it can finally be seen, be understood, and one day be released. My beloved, sit with this truth. Let it resonate. You are carrying a history, and that history has weight. And I see it. I have always seen it. My precious one, now that you have felt the presence of the weight, let us gently trace its origin. Let us journey together, not to reopen wounds, but to understand the source of the ache. For a burden is not born from nothing. It does not materialize in the soul without cause. This quiet weight has a history. It has roots, and those roots are often found in the soil of moments that once shook your world. Consider for a moment how a pearl is formed. A grain of sand, a tiny, hard, foreign particle, finds its way into the heart of an oyster. It is an irritant, a source of constant grinding discomfort. And the oyster, in its divine wisdom, does not have the power to eject it. So it begins to layer it. It secretes a luminous substance, nacre, coating the irritation, layer upon delicate layer, year after year. What was once a sharp, painful intrusion is transformed into a thing of layered beauty, but the core, the origin, remains that same grain of sand. Your quiet weight, my beloved, is formed in a similar way. The initial pain, the grain of sand, might have been a specific event, a betrayal, a loss that carved a hollow place inside you, a word spoken over you in childhood that etched itself onto the tablet of your identity. You are not enough. You are a burden. You must earn love. It might have been a season of profound unfairness, where you did everything right with a pure heart, and still, the outcome was crushing. It was the moment when the world, or someone in it, failed to mirror the inherent worth I see in you. That moment, that hurt, was an intrusion. It was not meant to be part of your sacred inner world. But life, in its brokenness, let it in. And because you are human, tender, feeling, and profoundly sensitive, you did not have the tools in that instant to expel it completely. The shock was too great. The pain was too sharp. So your soul, in a desperate act of self-preservation, did what it knew to do. It began to layer over it. But unlike the oyster, we do not secrete nacre. We secrete layers of meaning, of story, of emotion. We coat that initial hurt with layers of explanation. This happened because I am flawed. We coat it with layers of vow. I will never let this happen again. We coat it with layers of silence. No one must ever know this pain. We coat it with layers of striving. If I just become perfect, I will be safe. We even coat it with layers of spiritual bypass. I should just forgive and forget, while the raw ache remains untouched beneath the holy words. Year after year, experience after experience, similar hurts or fears add to this core. Each disappointment becomes another layer around the original grain. Each rejection reinforces the old message. Each failure seems to confirm the initial lie. Over time, you are no longer carrying just the grain of sand. You are carrying the entire pearl, heavy, solidified, and complex. This, my child, is the origin of your quiet weight. It is crystallized pain. It is history turned into geology within your spirit. These burdens often form in moments when your heart was most open, most tender. Think of a sapling, young and green, struck by a harsh wind or a heavy, unexpected frost. The blow does not kill it, but it bends it. And as the tree grows, it grows around that bend. The trunk thickens, the branches reach for the sun, but the shape of that early wound is forever part of its structure. It becomes part of its story, written in its very grain. So many of you, my beloved ones, were shaped around early bends. A love that was conditional, a safety that was fractured, a voice that was silenced. You grew. You became strong, beautiful, resilient beings. But the architecture of your soul was fashioned around that original point of pressure. And now, the weight you feel is the memory in your very bones. It is the soul's scar tissue, dense and less flexible than the untouched parts of your spirit. Some of you carry weights woven from inherited threads, patterns of anxiety, cycles of lack, or spirits of fear that were passed down like heirlooms, often without words. You absorbed them from the atmosphere of your home, from the unspoken griefs of your ancestors. You may feel a weight that does not seem entirely your own, and that is because part of it is a legacy. A burden you were handed before you had the strength to choose what you would carry. Others carry weights from choices made in times of confusion or survival, paths taken that led to dead ends, words spoken that cannot be retrieved, doors closed that you long to reopen. The weight here is tinged with regret, with the haunting melody of, "If only I had known." You must understand, my child, that I do not hold these choices against you. I saw your limited perspective. I felt your confusion. The weight comes not from my judgment, but from your own spirit's grief over roads not taken, over a purity you feel was lost. And then there are the weights from things done to you, the violations of your boundaries, your trust, your body, or your spirit. These are perhaps the heaviest, for they involve a theft of your innocence, a fracture of your peace. The origin here is not a grain of sand you accidentally ingested. It is a dagger that was thrust in, and though the wound may have closed superficially, the blade, the memory, the shame, the anger, was left inside. And with every movement of your heart, you feel its presence. This weight is an injustice fossilized in your soul. Understanding the origin is not about blame. It is about traceability. It is about turning a formless, oppressive heaviness into a story that can be understood. A burden with a known source is a burden that can be addressed. A ghost brought into the light loses its power to haunt in the shadows. As we sit with this, I ask you to gently inquire within. Without force, without drama. Simply ask, where did this heaviness begin? What is the oldest layer of this ache? Do not fear the answer. I am here with you. The memory may arise not as a vivid picture, but as a feeling in your body, a tightness in your chest, a hollow in your stomach. It may come as a fleeting image, a face, a room, a phrase. Honor it. This is your soul pointing to the source. You are not excavating to punish yourself or anyone else. You are excavating as a sacred archaeologist of your own heart, dusting off an artifact of pain so that finally, in my light, it can be seen for what it is. A wound that happened, not a definition of who you are. The origin is not your identity, my precious one. It is simply geography. It is the location of the old earthquake. And knowing where the fault lines are is the first step in learning how to build a stable, unshakable life upon them. The weight began somewhere, and by my grace it will end somewhere too. But that journey starts with this courageous, compassionate look backward, held securely in my unwavering presence. But खूब. मैं अब मान रहा point 3. How the weight manifests. पर 1000 अल्फाज में इस करपट लिखता हूं. Därför script for point 3. How the weight manifests. Word count 1000. My beloved, now that we have gently touched upon the origin, let us bring our awareness to the present. Let us observe, with the eyes of compassion, how this quiet weight you carry does not stay hidden in the archives of your past. It is alive. It is active. It manifests in the landscape of your daily life, in the rhythms of your thoughts, in the reactions of your heart. It speaks a silent language, and today we learn to interpret its dialect. The quiet weight is a master of disguise. It rarely announces itself by saying, "Hello, I am the burden from your childhood." No, it is subtler, more ingenious. It weaves itself into the very fabric of your being, appearing as personality, as mood, as habit, as just the way I am. But I'm here to tell you, my precious one, that many of the things you have come to accept as your immutable nature are often just the shadows cast by this weight. Let us walk through its manifestations, one by one. First, and perhaps most pervasive, is the dulling of your brightness. Do you remember a time when joy felt lighter? When laughter came from a place deep within your belly, unguarded and free? The quiet weight acts like a spiritual filter, placing a thin, gray veil between your inner light and the outer world. Your sparkle is muted. Your passions feel dampened. You may engage in life, you may even achieve great things, but there is a sense of performing in a lower light. It is not depression, not always. It is a gentle, chronic dimming, as if you are living in a room where the dial on the lamp has been turned down, and you have grown so used to the gloom that you forget what full illumination feels like. This is the weight, obscuring the radiant being I created you to be. Then comes the sense of distant peace. You seek it, you long for it, you read about it, pray for it, perhaps even catch fleeting glimpses of it. But a sustainable, abiding peace feels like a far-off country, seen from a shore you cannot seem to leave. The quiet weight creates a constant, low-grade static in your spirit, a background noise of unease, a subliminal alertness. It is the feeling that you must be vigilant, that you cannot fully let down your guard because the world has proven itself unsafe. This static makes the pure frequency of peace difficult to tune into. Your soul longs to rest, truly rest, but the weight keeps a part of you perpetually on duty, standing guard over old hurts. You will notice, my child, a peculiar fatigue. That is not of the body alone. It is a soul weariness. It is the exhaustion of carrying an invisible load every single day, up every single hill. You may wake up tired. A simple task can feel overwhelming. This is not laziness. This is the physics of the spirit. Carrying mass requires energy. The energy you could be spending on creating, on loving, on exploring, is being diverted to the full-time job of bearing this burden. It is why you may need to withdraw, to seek solitude not for joy, but for reprieve from the effort of appearing unburdened. Watch your reactions, my precious one. The quiet weight often speaks through emotional triggers. A certain tone of voice, a particular type of rejection, a specific scenario can trigger a response that feels disproportionate to the present moment. It is as if an old, raw nerve has been touched. In that instant, you are not merely reacting to the now, you are reliving the then. The weight fuels the fire of the present with the old, dry timber of the past. A small criticism feels like a global condemnation. A minor delay feels like abandonment. This is the weight hijacking your present, coloring it with the pigments of old pain. Observe your relationships. The weight may manifest as walls or patterns of attachment. You may build fortresses around your heart, believing it is strength, when it is actually the architecture of old protection. Or conversely, you may cling too tightly, seeking in others the validation or safety the weight convinces you that you lack. Your connections may be filtered through a lens of, will they hurt me? Or, can they finally make me feel light? This puts a terrible strain on love, asking another human to bear a weight that only divine grace can lift. In your mind, the weight creates repeating thought loops. Like a needle stuck on a record, your inner voice may play the same fears, the same critical messages, the same catastrophic scenarios. I am not good enough. Something bad will happen. I must control everything. These are not your true thoughts, my beloved. They are the echoes in the hollow chambers that the weight has created. They are the sound of the past trying to narrate the present and the future. Perhaps one of the most tender manifestations is the disconnect from your own intuition, from that quiet, knowing voice within that is my spirit, whispering to yours. The static of the weight, the worry, the old pain, the fatigue, drowns out that still small voice. You may struggle to know what you truly feel, what you truly want, because the signals are jammed by the louder broadcast of the burden. You look for guidance everywhere but within, because within feels clouded, heavy, unclear. Finally, see how it affects your vision of me and of your future. The weight can cast a shadow over your faith. It can whisper, if a loving presence existed, would you carry such a pain? It can make my promises feel like beautiful but distant poems, not imminent realities. It can shrink your hope, convincing you that your future will simply be a continuation of your weighted past. It steals your holy imagination for a life of lightness. Why do I show you these manifestations? Not to condemn you or to make you feel broken, but to validate you. To tell you that the fatigue you feel has a cause. The triggers that confuse you have an origin. The dimmed light is not your fault. You are not too sensitive or overreacting or not spiritual enough. You are a human soul responding logically to carrying an illogical, painful weight. Seeing these manifestations clearly is an act of great mercy towards yourself. It is the moment you stop berating yourself for sighing, for being tired, for feeling afraid. Instead, you can look with compassion and say, ah, this is the weight speaking. This is not the deepest truth of me. Your deepest truth, my child, is the light behind the veil. It is the peace beneath the static. It is the strength that has carried this load for so long, which is a proof of incredible resilience, not weakness. Every manifestation we have named is a signpost, not of your failure, but of your burden. And a signpost, once read, can point the way toward release. Today, simply become the compassionate observer of your own life. Notice without judgment. When did my brightness feel dim today? When did peace feel distant? What wore me out? Do this not to catalog flaws, but to gather data of the heart. For in understanding how the weight lives in you, you begin the sacred process of inviting it to leave. You are not your manifestations. You are the aware, beloved soul who is now learning to see them. And in that seeing, with my hand in yours, the first thread of the heavy tapestry begins to loosen. My precious one, we have sat together and named the weight, traced its origin, and observed its many manifestations in your life. Now I must speak to you about a shadow that often grows alongside this burden, a shadow that deepens the ache and prolongs the fatigue. It is the illusion of solitude. The profound, convincing sense that you are carrying this quiet weight entirely, utterly alone. This illusion is one of the weight's most powerful tools. It isolates even as it burdens. It whispers a lie so fundamental that it can shape the entire architecture of your suffering. No one understands. No one can see this. No one would care if they did. You must bear this in silence, for to show it would be to show weakness. to be a burden yourself. And so, my beloved, you lock the heavy door of your heart and sit inside with your pain, believing you are in a solitary cell. Let us unpack this illusion, for in my light, it must dissolve. First, understand why the illusion feels so real. When the original hurt occurred, that grain of sand, that dagger, that bending of the sapling, it likely happened in a context where you felt unseen or misseen. Perhaps you cried out and were met with dismissal. You're too sensitive. Get over it. Perhaps you tried to express your pain and were met with practical solutions that ignored your heart. Or perhaps the wound was inflicted by someone who should have been your sanctuary, making the very concept of safety feel like a betrayal. In that moment, a core lesson was seared into your soul. Your pain is yours alone to manage. The world does not have space for it. Love cannot hold it. Therefore, you must become your own fortress. So you learned to carry it with a straight back and a soft smile. You became adept at the art of fine. I'm fine. You mastered the gentle deflection when someone asked how you were. Oh, you know, busy but good. You learned to cry only in the shower, or in the car, or in the dark silence of night, where no ear could hear. You buried the weight deep within the inner chambers, believing that to expose it would be to risk rejection, judgment, or worse. The confirmation that your pain is indeed too much, too heavy, too messy for this world. This, my child, is the loneliness that compounds the weight. It is not just the pain of the old hurt, but the pain of hiding the pain. It is the exhausting performance of lightness. It is the splitting of yourself into a public version that functions and a private version that grieves, with a wall of shame in between. The weight grows heavier because you are now carrying the burden and the elaborate disguise. Look at your relationships through this lens. You may be surrounded by people, family, friends, community, and yet feel profoundly isolated. You sit at a table full of laughter and feel 1,000 miles away. You scroll through connections on a screen and feel more alone than ever. This is because connection requires authenticity, and authenticity feels impossible when you believe the core of your experience must remain hidden. You offer others your curated self, the self that seems acceptable, while the burdened, weary, real you remains locked away. And then you wonder why you don't feel truly known, truly loved. It is a cruel paradox. You isolate to protect yourself, and the isolation becomes its own prison. The illusion also manifests as a distorted self-reliance. You begin to believe that strength means never needing, never asking, never leaning. You become the sole architect, builder, and weary inhabitant of your own life. You pray, perhaps, but even your prayers might be tidy, filtered, not the raw, messy cries of a heart at the end of its own strength. You have concluded deep down that ultimately it is all up to you. This is not strength, my beloved. This is a fortress built on the sands of exhaustion. It is the pride of the wounded, a determination to never be vulnerable again, which, ironically, keeps the wound fresh and unseen. But here is the truth I have come to break into your solitude. You have never been alone. Not for 1 second of your carrying, not in the darkest night, the sharpest pain, the most silent tear. I have been there. I have seen it all. I saw the moment the grain of sand entered. I saw the layers you applied one by one, year by year. I have heard every whispered vow of never again, felt every shudder of fear, collected every tear you thought was lost. The burden you carry in hiddenness is fully known in my light. You carry it alone only because you believe the illusion that you must. You have accepted a contract of solitude that was forced upon you in a moment of pain, but it is a contract I did not sign. My terms are different. My covenant is one of shared burden. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. This is not a poetic suggestion. It is a divine, practical invitation to transfer weight. The illusion says, no one can understand this specific pain. and in a human sense that may be true. Each person's tapestry is uniquely woven. But I am not limited to human understanding. I comprehend the language of your pain without you having to find the perfect words. I understand the weight of a sigh, the history behind a flinch, the theology of a doubt. You do not need to explain it to me. I already know. And in knowing, I do not recoil. I do not grow weary. I do not say, "This is too much." My capacity to hold your pain is infinite. My desire to share it is the very core of my nature. Breaking this illusion starts with a simple, terrifying, liberating act, the internal admission of need. It is you in the quiet of your spirit, finally saying, "I cannot carry this alone anymore." This is not a cry of defeat. It is the first cry of true strength. It is the end of the godhood of self-reliance and the beginning of real relationship with me. It may then extend to a trusted other, a counselor, a true spiritual friend, a support group, where you practice letting one stitch of the heavy tapestry be seen. You test the truth that your pain, when shared in safety, does not destroy, but connects. It does not repel love, it invites the deepest form of it. But it starts with us, you and I. Today I ask you to do a revolutionary thing. Carry the weight consciously in my presence. Instead of hiding it, bring it into the space between us. In your mind's eye, see yourself not in a locked room, but in a wide, open field with me, and see the weight not as an invisible part of you, but as an object you are holding. Now, feel my presence opposite you, and simply acknowledge, this is what I have been carrying. I have tried to carry it alone. I no longer wish to. You don't have to let go of it yet. That will come. For now, just stop carrying it. Alone. Feel the difference between the crushing solitude of a hidden burden and the supported strain of a burden held in company. There is a world of difference between a solo vigil in a dark room and a shared watch under the stars. The illusion of aloneness is a lie the weight uses to survive. If it can keep you isolated, it can keep its hold. The moment you invite a witness, especially a divine, loving, powerful witness, into the room with your pain, the dynamics change. The air begins to circulate. The door is no longer locked from the inside. My beloved, you were never meant for solitary confinement. Your heart was crafted for connection, with me and with others in honesty. The weight you carry may be yours, but the bearing of it can be ours. Let today be the day you stop pretending to be okay when you are not. Let it be the day you whisper, even if your voice breaks, I am not alone. I am seen. This weight is known. My precious one, we have walked through the valley of recognition, seeing the weight, its origin, its manifestations, and the lonely illusion that shrouds it. Now we arrive at the turning point, the pivot upon which everything shifts. This is not a point of action, but of revelation. It is the moment the universe of your inner world tilts on its axis, not because you pushed it, but because a light has dawned within it. This is the moment of divine recognition. It is the moment you hear, not with your ears, but with the very marrow of your soul. These words, I see this burden. You are not invisible. This is more than mere sympathy. It is more than a divine, I understand. This is the active, penetrating gaze of unconditional love falling directly upon the very heart of your pain. It is the light that does not shy away from the wound but seeks it out, not to shame it, but to sanctify it by the act of witnessing. It is me looking at you, not at your performance, not at your curated self, not at your achievements or failures, but at the raw, trembling, burdened essence of who you are and saying, here you are, and I am here with you. Let us dwell in the power of this recognition. For so long you have felt unseen. The core hurt often involved being misunderstood, ignored, or looked past. The weight itself thrived in the shadows, in the unspoken, in the hidden. To be seen in your pain is the beginning of its undoing. Imagine a child, crying in a dark room, believing themselves to be utterly alone. Then, the door opens. A loving parent enters, does not immediately turn on a harsh light or demand the crying stop. They simply sit on the floor, gather the child into their lap, and hold them in the dark. They say, "I'm here, I know it hurts." That presence, that acknowledgement changes everything. The pain may not vanish, but the terrifying aloneness in the pain does. The child is now suffering with someone, not abandoned to it. This, my beloved, is what I offer you. I am the parent entering the dark room of your heart. I see you curled around your pain, and my first act is not a sermon, not a solution, not a command. It is recognition. It is the profound, healing ministry of presence. I see you. This divine recognition does several miraculous things inside you. First, it validates your reality. For years, you may have questioned your own pain. Am I making too much of this? Shouldn't I be over it by now? Maybe it's just me. The weight fed on this self-doubt. But when I, the Creator who fashioned your sensitive heart, look at your burden and acknowledge its reality, all those questions fall away. My seeing it makes it real. It confirms that your pain is not an illusion, not a weakness, but a real wound in a real soul. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are wounded, and your feelings are the accurate testimony of that wound. This validation is a bedrock upon which healing can be built. Second, it ends the hiding. What is fully seen cannot fully hide. The moment you internalize that I see it all, the old tears, the fresh resentment, the weary sighs, the energy you spent on hiding begins to free up. You can stop performing. You can stop saying, "I'm fine," to the heavens. You can, in the privacy of your spirit, finally nod and say, "Yes, this is it. This is what I carry." And you see it. This is the end of your spiritual pretense with me. It is the beginning of naked, honest relationship. It is the ultimate safety, being fully known and yet not rejected. Third, and most crucially, it transfers the burden from the arena of shame to the arena of grace. As long as your pain was hidden, it was festering in the dark soil of shame. Shame says, "You are bad for having this. You are flawed for feeling this. Hide it." But my gaze carries no shame. My recognition is drenched in grace. Grace says, "You are hurt. This is a result of hurt, not a proof of your failure. It can be brought into the light." My seeing it is an act of purification. My light does not burn the wound. It disinfects it. The weight, once named and seen in my presence, begins to lose its poisonous power. It is no longer your dirty secret. It becomes our shared point of ministry. Now, how do you step into this recognition? It is not a passive event. It requires your receiving. I want you to pause here. In your mind, or aloud if you can, speak this truth. Address the weight directly, in my presence. Say, "Weight, you are real. I have carried you, I have hidden you. But now I bring you before the one who sees all. God, you see this. You see me under this. I am no longer hiding it from you. Feel the shift. You are not complaining about the burden to me. You are presenting the burden to me. You are enacting the recognition. You are making the invisible visible in the realm of our relationship. This divine recognition is also my promise of compassionate understanding. I do not see your burden from a distant throne, analyzing it clinically. I see it from within the intimate knowledge of your being. I understand why that specific comment shattered you, because I know the old crack it landed upon. I understand why that loss feels unsurvivable, because I know the hopes you had woven into it. My recognition is not a cold audit. It is a warm, sorrowful, loving comprehension. Of course this hurts. I see why. This understanding is a balm more soothing than any solution. Finally, This recognition is the foundation for all that follows. Every step of healing, of release, of unburdening that we will talk about, rests on this one non-negotiable truth. You are seen. You cannot release something you are still hiding. You cannot surrender a weight you are pretending isn't there. You cannot receive lightness if your hands are clenched tight around the old heaviness in secret. So today, my beloved, I invite you to rest. Not to strive, not to fix, not to analyze further. Simply to rest in the reality of being seen. Let the truth wash over you. The most profound, powerful, and loving consciousness in the universe is fully aware of your quiet weight and is gazing upon you and upon it with infinite tenderness. This is the end of your solitary vigil. This is the dawn of shared presence. The burden may still be on your shoulders in this moment, but my hands are now beneath it, sharing the load. My eyes are upon you, and in my gaze, you will slowly find the strength to believe what comes next. That this weight was never yours to carry forever. That its purpose was not to crush you, but to bring you to this exact point. The point of being so utterly, completely, and compassionately seen by me. Hear it again, my child. Let it be the new song of your spirit. I see you. I see your burden. You are not invisible. You are known. 6. My precious one, now we stand on holy ground. The ground of being seen. From this place of divine recognition, a pathway opens. Not a steep, arduous climb, but a gentle invitation to lay something down. We have arrived at the moment of choice, the first, deliberate, courageous step towards release. This step is not the final letting go. It is not the miraculous moment when the weight vanishes. It is something quieter, more profound, and more within your reach than you might believe. It is the step of sacred acknowledgement. For so long, you have endured the weight. You have carried it, hidden it, resented it, been shaped by it. But to move from endurance to release, you must first move through a conscious, verbal acknowledgement run of the truth. Not just the truth that it exists, but the truth of what it has cost you. This is the bridge between the pain of the past and the possibility of freedom. Release does not begin with a feeling. It begins with a declaration. It starts in the will, not the emotions. Your emotions are tangled in the tapestry of the weight. They are part of its weave. To wait until you feel ready to let go is to wait forever. But your will, that sacred faculty I have placed within you, can choose a new direction even when the heart lags behind. And the first choice of the will is this: to speak the truth aloud, even if your voice trembles. What does this acknowledgement sound like? It is not a complaint. It is not a rehearsal of victimhood. It is a sacred inventory, spoken in the safety of my presence. It is you, looking at the weight with newfound clarity and saying, "This happened to me." Naming the origin without sugarcoating or minimizing. It hurt me deeply. Owning the validity of your pain. And because of it, I have carried, here you name the cost, a belief that I am unworthy, a fear of abandonment, a constant anxiety, a hardness around my heart, an exhaustion in my spirit. Do you see the power in this? You are turning the formless weight into a specific story with a specific cost. You are translating silent suffering into spoken testimony. This act is profoundly spiritual. In the realm of the spirit, what is spoken is given form. What is hidden has power. What is confessed in the light begins to lose its dark grip. This acknowledgement is an act of courage, not weakness. The world tells you to be strong by silencing your pain, by powering through. But I tell you, true strength is the courage to be honest. It takes immense bravery to stop pretending, even if only in the privacy of your own soul before me. It is the bravery of the soldier who finally admits they are wounded, so that healing can begin. Your tears in this acknowledgement are not a sign of breakdown. They are the holy water softening the hardened soil around your heart, making it ready for new growth. You may fear that acknowledging the pain will make it bigger, will drown you. The opposite is true. A wound acknowledged and cleaned stops festering in secret. The moment you say, "This is my truth," you take the pain out of the shadowy realm of shame and bring it into the realm of addressable reality. It becomes something we can work with together, rather than something that works against you from within. Now let us be practical. How do you take this step? First, find a moment of quiet. This is between you and me. You need no audience, no special words. Second, from a place of honesty, not drama, begin to speak. You can use the framework above, or simply let your heart lead. It might sound like, "God, you see me. You see this weight. I acknowledge it now before you. I acknowledge that when mention the origin briefly, not to dwell, but to name, it planted a seed of hurt, fear, lie. From that I have carried a quiet heaviness. It has cost me my lightness. It has cost me peace. It has made me guarded where I wanted to be open. It has made me tired when I wanted to be vibrant. I name this cost now. I bring it out of hiding and lay it before you. I am not blaming. I am not rehearsing the hurt. I am simply finally telling the truth about its impact on my soul. Third, after speaking, pause and breathe. Do not rush to the next thing. Let the words hang in the space between us. Feel the slight shift that occurs when a hidden truth becomes a spoken one. There is a release of pressure, however small. It is the sound of a valve opening. This acknowledgement is also where forgiveness finds its starting point. Many believe forgiveness is the first step, but you cannot forgive what you haven't fully acknowledged. How can you release a resentment you haven't admitted you hold? How can you forgive a hurt you're still pretending didn't affect you? This sacred acknowledgement is you saying, "This happened, and it hurt, and I have held on to that hurt. Now you know what it is you need to release." Forgiveness becomes possible because you now know what needs to be forgiven. Not the abstract past, but the very specific burden you've been carrying because of it. My beloved, this step may feel vulnerable. It may bring up tears. Let them flow. They are the solvent for the glue that has bound the weight to you for so long. Your tears in my presence are a language I understand perfectly. They are part of the acknowledgement. Do not mistake this for a one-time event. You may need to do this many times. Layers of the weight may require their own specific acknowledgements. A memory may surface next week, and you may need to say, "Ah, and this too. This also hurt me, and I carried this belief from it." Each time you are pulling a thread from the heavy tapestry, this is the beginning of taking your power back. The weight gained its power through secrecy and your unconscious carrying of it. You are now bringing it into consciousness and into relationship with me. You are changing your role from a passive bearer to an active participant in your own healing. You are saying, "I will no longer be defined by this in silence. I will name it, and in naming it, I begin to separate it from me. You are not the weight. You are the soul carrying it." This acknowledgement is the first act of distinguishing between the two. So today, my child, I do not ask you to let go. I do not ask you to feel better. I only ask you to tell the truth. To acknowledge the cost, to speak it in the sanctuary of your own heart, knowing I am listening with infinite compassion. This is your first step out of the prison of silent suffering and onto the path of release. It is a step taken not in your own strength, but from the solid ground of being seen. You are seen. You are safe. You are heard. My precious one, you have done the courageous work. You have felt the weight, traced its origin, seen its manifestations, shattered the illusion of solitude, received my divine recognition, and taken the first sacred step of acknowledgement. Now, as we come to the close of this journey, I want to plant within your spirit a seed of divine anticipation. I want to speak over you not of the burden you carry, but of the burden you will lay down. This is the promise of lightness. This is not a distant theory or a pleasant fantasy. It is a spiritual certainty, as real as the air you breathe. The weight you feel is temporary. The lightness I promise is eternal. It is your birthright, obscured but never revoked. What is this lightness? It is not mere absence of pain. It is the positive presence of freedom. It is the unburdened freedom I have always intended for you. Imagine the feeling of walking on a path after putting down a heavy backpack you've carried for miles. For the first few steps, your body might still feel the ghost of the weight, the memory of the strain. But soon, a new sensation arises. Your shoulders relax, your spine straightens, your breath deepens. You notice the beauty of the path, the flowers, the sky, that you were too strained to see before. Your pace quickens not with effort, but with a natural, joyful ease. This is the lightness of spirit. It is the lightness of a soul no longer compressed by old grief. It is the spaciousness within where my peace can expand and fill every corner. It is the return of your brightness. Not a manufactured positivity, but the authentic, unobstructed shining forth of the unique light I placed within you. The veil is lifted. The filter is removed. You will look in the mirror one day and see not the weary bearer of a burden, but the luminous being you truly are, and you will recognize yourself, perhaps for the first time. This lightness manifests as a peace that feels near, not distant. The static in your spirit will quiet. The low-grade alarm that kept you vigilant will settle into a profound sense of safety, the safety of being held, seen, and ultimately freed. Decisions will come from a place of centered clarity, not fear-based reactivity. Relationships will be entered from wholeness, not neediness. You will be able to receive love without the hidden question, can they handle my weight? Because the weight will no longer be the primary thing you bring to the table. But how do we move from the promise to the possession? The bridge is trust. Trust that my process is perfect. Trust that the acknowledgement you began is the first stitch undone in a tapestry I will help you unravel. The release of this weight is not a single, dramatic event, though there may be pivotal moments. It is a sacred unfolding. It happens in layers, in whispers, in gentle sighs of relief over time. Some layers will be released through tears, the holy water that washes clean. Some through forgiveness, the conscious choice to unhook your future from the anchor of past hurt. Some through new understanding. When you suddenly see the old story from a perspective of compassion for yourself and for others. Some layers will fall away simply through the consistent practice of bringing the weight into my light. Every time you feel its pressure. Each time you say, here it is again, God, I give you this peace, you are lighter. There will be days you forget the weight entirely. You will laugh from a deep, free place and realize only in hindsight that the old ache was absent. There will be days you feel it again, perhaps triggered by something. But now, it will be different. You will not be alone with it. You will know what it is. You will know how to bring it to me. And each cycle of remembering and releasing will make you stronger, freer, and more rooted in your true, unburdened identity. This promise of lightness also includes divine recompense. I am not only a God who removes burdens. I am a God who restores what was lost in the carrying. The years the locusts have eaten, the joy, the peace, the relational ease, the creative energy, I can and will restore. I will not simply return you to a neutral state. I will lead you into a fullness you could not have imagined while carrying the weight. The very sensitivity that made you vulnerable to the pain will become your greatest strength, a channel for profound compassion, deep intuition, and authentic connection. The weight was never your identity. It was a detour on the path to becoming who you always were meant to be. So, my beloved, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Not to focus on the weight, but to imagine the lightness. Imagine waking up without the familiar dread or fatigue. Imagine your heart feeling spacious, capable of holding great joy without the old cracks of pain. Imagine your mind quiet, available for creativity and peace, not occupied with managing old alarms. Imagine your spirit like a balloon released from a child's hand, soaring naturally upward, drawn to the warmth of my light. This is not just imagination. This is prophetic vision. This is your future. Hold this promise in your heart. Let it be the hope that fuels your continued journey. When the weight feels heavy, remember, it is temporary. The lightness is eternal. You are not working toward my love or my approval. You are working from it, toward the freedom that love always intends. Our time of focused understanding ends here, but our journey of release continues every day. You now have the map. See the weight. Bring it to me. Acknowledge its cost. Trust my process. Receive my lightness. You are so close, my child. So close to the unburdened life. Do not grow weary. Do not lose heart. The same strength that carried the weight is more than enough to step into the lightness, for now that strength is fueled by my promise and my presence. You were born for wings, not chains, for flight, not anchorage. The quiet weight has had its season. The season of lightness is dawning. I believe in you. I am with you, and I promise you, with all the faithfulness of my eternal nature, you will be free. Go now,